Welcome back to episode 2 of my Texas Rangers Out of the Park series. This is a Start Today series. We started from August 31st, and we've simulated so far up until right here, the beginning of our very first off-season in this series. We have a lot of work to do, but first we have some notifications here. We have a few decisions to make. I've already said Francis Martez is going to get his team option accepted. We're going to go ahead and execute that. He's going to be here. He's probably going to be our opening day pitcher, assuming we don't make any moves this offseason. I really like him. He's going to be a big piece for us this season. Next, we have Cespedes. He has an option. I think we're just going to buy it out. I don't feel like he's going to be a piece for us. I just don't see him getting any better, any worse. He wasn't really a big piece for us anyway at the end of the season. He was hot there for a little bit, but then he couldn't keep it up. I think it's just best to find a younger piece to fill his spot for the time being, at least. Next, we have our owner's goals. There wasn't a lot for this season. The only one I believe this season was to not suck completely, I believe is the wording. And we sucked. There's no other way around it. We only won 60 games. We lost 102. We did, however, complete the goal of getting a gold glove in Cespedes. Obviously, he's not here still, but we already completed the goal. Every other goal is a long-term goal, so next season we're going to have similar goals. It looks like it's just the only difference is he wants us to acquire a team leader, which is something I want to do. I want to get a captain on this team. Every other goal is the same as it was last episode, all long-term goals, and to not suck completely again, that is easy for me. I'm perfect with that because I think we're going to be at least close to 500 this year if everything goes according to plan and we can get the guys we want. And something that makes that a million times easier is this next notification with our budget. He says our budget, he's going to give us $146 million for total expenses. That's around $120 million for the team payroll. And if we take a look at our front office, and then we take a look at our financial situation, we have $75 million for money for right now, and then we have $76 million for extensions. That's amazing. That is beyond amazing. I was expecting a significant budget decrease because we were bad. We don't have a big salary that he needs to keep up with. I thought he was going to bring it down, but he didn't. Now, a lot of this is probably going to go toward the development budget and the scouting budget. I'm probably going to put around $25 million to that. So this is really going to be like $50 million, I would say. But that's still a whole lot to work with, especially since I'm not going to go out and probably get the top guys. I don't really want to be that team. I just want to get guys that I think will help us long term, and that'll be good pieces for us. We'll get into that more later in the episode. Next, we have the top 100 prospects again. We have Jack Leiter now. He's a top prospect. He's 13th on this one. We also have this prospect right here. He's a 16-year-old scouting discovery. I don't really like him that much. OSA is definitely saying he's going to be better than our head scout, which is interesting since he's the one that discovered him, but I could see him getting traded if he keeps up his top 100 prospect ranking and if he's valuable. I mean, he's 24th right now. That surely has some value. I would definitely trade him away. I don't think he's going to be anything great. I just don't see it happening. I know he's only 16, but I just don't see it. We'll come back to him, though, later if we can trade him eventually. Next, we have some league news. The St. Louis Cardinals sell their team to a different owner, and then the Arizona Diamondbacks fire their GM. I'm surprised there wasn't more firings, but that's that for now. And then we're going to go ahead and look at salary arbitration and other news regarding the contracts expiring. So we have, starting off with salary arbitration, we're going to offer Justin Anderson $750,000, Luis Garcia $800,000, Clay Holmes and Tim Meza $1 million each. Matt Bush we're actually going to bring back, hopefully, at $750,000. He's a little older, but he still throws really hard. He's 98 to 100 miles per hour at 35. He has, decent stuff everywhere. I think he could be a decent piece for us, even though he was in the minors last year towards the end once he came back from injury. I think he could be a decent piece for us. Isaiah here is going to get the bulk of the money here. $2.5 million, could be more, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it was more. And then Willie Calhoun, I'm still on the ropes about him. I don't know if he's actually going to have a spot on this roster. I think I am actually going to withdraw our offer. I don't think he's going to come back. He is 26 and he has a decent bat. Plays decent defense, not anything great. But I just don't think he's quite what I want in left field for us. We're not going to bring back Charlie Culberson or Jordan Lyles. We're definitely not going to offer them the qualifying offer. Cespedes is going to go probably. Unless he's available in free agency and we just haven't found anybody else, he's not going to come back. And then down here, I offered a few guys. These 3 guys down here, minor league contracts. Everyone else is going to go. Jared Walker, I'm a little bit not wanting to get rid of, but there's not a spot on the roster for him. I don't see us offering him anything else, so he can just walk, I guess. That's fine by me. That's it for right now. Next time I come back, I guess we'll go over the awards or if we're making any moves. But most likely we're going to be at awards before I make any moves. Alright, we're back after all of the award results. First, we do have the Korean Baseball Organization posted their players. None of them were too interesting to me. You can see a few guys kind of look good. We'll skip one guy here because this one guy in the middle, I've made a serious contract offer to him so far. I don't think it'll pop up here, but it's roughly 5 years, 66 million maybe. I'm pretty sure I can go and find it. Let's try and find it real fast. We'll go ahead to here. Hopefully it'll be, yeah, here it is. So it's 5 years, 63 million. Last 2 years are team options for 14 million each. The first year I believe is 11. The next 2 are 12, which makes it a total of 63 million. Average salary of 12,600,000. I know I said I wasn't going to try and sign any of the big free agents, but this guy came out of nowhere as a 23-year-old right fielder. Just look at this bat. Even now, it's even a really good bat. Potentially, though, 70 contact, 65 gap power, and 70 avoiding Ks. Like, that is exactly what I want out of a right fielder. I want a guy that gets on base. He has good speed and good base running. Defense is fine. It's not a liability at all. He can even play center field a little bit if we need him to. Maybe even left if we wanted to. He just looks like a really, really good player. I don't know how he's only 2.5 star and 3 potential. Maybe it's the home run and the eye that aren't really there for him, but I'd be fine if they never were, as long as he gets on base and he makes contact with the ball a lot. That's perfect for me. I really want him. He's already declined the first offer we sent, and it was probably a little bit less than this. It was probably closer to 53 million, maybe 55. So we upped it a lot. Hopefully he signs. I'd be really happy if he signed with us. He'd be easily starting in right field for us. Next, we'll go to the award winners. There's a little bit of a glitch with a lot of these, like the Gold Glove. It only shows the pitcher. In the pitcher here, I don't know what happened there. It's really not a big deal, though. None of our guys won any awards, I'm pretty sure. We'll just go through this slowly, and I'll show you guys each of these. You can pause it if you want to see who won what. Pretty sure none of our guys were even on the list for a lot of these. Here's another glitch. It only shows the DH and then the pitcher. And then we have the Rookie of the Year voting. Once again, none of our guys here. And then obviously none of our guys in the National League. And then Cy Young. Here's the winner. None of our guys, once again, I'm not surprised. Our pitching was not good at all. And then we go to the MVP. We can take a look at, here's all the voting results here. I don't think any of our guys are here. Yeah, none of our guys are here. Once again, not surprised. And then here is the National League MVP. That's going to be it for now. We're going to go ahead and simulate to the arbitration hearings and free agency. Hopefully we can hear back from that international right fielder from Korea. And then hopefully he signs. Hopefully we have some good news on that front. And I'll see you guys then. Alright, so here we are a day away from salary arbitration hearings. And I've had this move in the works. I've been trying to figure out how I wanted it to work, how I wanted it to get it done. Let's start with the context first. Jose Trevino, I guess is how you say it. He's gotten a lot of offers, actually. I've gotten 2 trade offers sent to me including him in the package. And then I decided I'm going to shop him around and see what I can get. There's actually a lot of pieces, good pieces, that were being offered for him. A lot of them weren't necessarily like pieces I loved, but I really like Stanton potentially coming to Texas and playing for us, even if it's as a DH. As a left fielder, I'd prefer it to be a DH, obviously, because he does have that. He's fragile. His injury proneness is not good. But last year, I think he had a lot of plate appearances. He played good. 346 on base, OPS plus at 120. He had 30 home runs. I just think he could be a really good piece for us. WRC plus at 122. I think he could be really good for us. And we're not giving up too much, in my opinion, at least. We're giving up a catcher who I can easily replace. His bat never was there. He's only good for his defense. There's plenty of guys out there I can get that only play defense at the catching position, especially at this price. It won't be too much more expensive, even if I do have to increase my price range for that type of catcher. Next, we're giving up arguably our best bat. My opinions from last episode about him. I don't see him that highly. He's definitely a good player, but I don't think he's anything that special. Compared to Stanton, he just doesn't get on base, which is exactly what Stanton does. That's what I want him for. And also, if we do go ahead and we sign the guy from Korea, that's the right fielder, then Garcia is just obsolete at that point. There's no reason to keep him. He plays right field. I don't see him moving to center, really. I don't really want that at this point. I'd rather keep our guy in center that I like. And then we're also giving up Nick Solak. He was expendable anyway. He's not anything that great. He didn't perform last season good. I wanted to upgrade second anyway. So it's really three guys that are easily replaceable. And we're also giving up a prospect. I don't know why they wanted him. It was him and then a bunch of other guys I wasn't willing to get rid of, so I decided that's fine with me. OSA rates him a little bit higher, but even this doesn't look all that great to me. I mean, decent pitches, but none of the stuff, movement, or control is ever going to be above average. He doesn't throw hard as a 21, 22-year-old almost now. He doesn't have great stamina. I just don't see him being anything great in my opinion, so I'm fine with getting rid of him. And then also, in this trade, it's not just Stanton and all his money. They're going to pay for 80% of it for the rest of his contract, which means if we just take a look at the 23 right here, we can go to his contract and see it's going to be roughly $6 million for the first 2 years, and I believe after that it's never going to be more than 10 that we have to pay. And I'm definitely fine with that. It's never going to be a big deal for me to pay him however much we're paying him. As long as he puts up those numbers and he plays a decent bit, I'm fine with that. Worst case scenario, we trade him away. It's not a bunch of money. It's not like we're stuck with an untradeable contract. Worst case scenario, we can even cut him. It's not a big deal, in my opinion. We also get a prospect. He's an 18-year-old, almost 19-year-old third baseman. OSA is saying he's a little better than our scouts saying, but he has the power potential. The bat could come around. He's only 19. His defense isn't good, his base running isn't good, and I do like guys that have both of those, but it was just a throw-in piece. We also get $2 million in cash. I believe we could have gotten Aroldis Chapman as well in this deal instead of the cash and the prospect, but I wasn't really interested in that. I know his personality isn't great, and honestly, he's kind of old, throwing that hard. I just don't think it's a good combination. But this is the deal we're going to go with. We are going to have to bump down the cash a little bit now that I just realized that isn't a done deal. I'm not even sure if we can get it done. Okay, so we can get it done without the cash. I don't really care about the cash as much. It was just a little throw-in piece to sort of even things out. But this is going to be the deal that we're going to do. We're going to bring in Stanton. He's going to be our new star. Our fans are not happy that we got rid of Garcia. I'm sure that they're happy that we got Stanton, though, and I'm happy with that. I really like this deal. I'm really happy with that. We got a really, really good player, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Now we're just waiting to hear back from arbitration, our potential starting right fielder next year. Hopefully he accepts the contract, and then we're getting into free agency. All right, here we are, the exact same day we made the Stanton trade. We're going to make another deal here, this one for Blake Snell. We could have had him straight up for this guy, Dane Acker, right here. Half star overall, half star potential. He's 22 already. We could have done that straight up, but I wanted to make it a little bit more interesting. I wanted them to pay about $1 million of his contract for the next 3 years, and also give us $10 million in cash so that we can have a little bit more money this year. And all we had to do was give up a few other prospects. We gave up a half star overall, 1 star potential guy that's 25, more than fine with that. And the best prospect we gave up was this catching prospect who's already 24. His highest potential, our head scout's saying 1.5. Our OSA is saying 2. He voids Ks, it looks like good. He has decent contact and gap power. It's never going to be really any more than average. I don't see him being anything for us, so I'm more than fine with him going. For Blake Snell, who's only almost 29, he has really good stuff, really good pitches. The movement and control are below average, but I think he could be a really good piece for us. It says 4 stars right here, but this is as a relief pitcher. As a starter, I'm hoping he's 3 at least. 3 stars, that'd be nice. And then even if he puts up this ERA for us, I'd be more than happy with that. That is not a bad ERA at all for this team, especially that we're on right now with our starting pitching depth. He's definitely going to have to be better if he really wants to get a contract extension after that, but I think taking a chance on him for basically nothing, and we also get $10 million in cash, that's an easy trade that I'm going to do 10 times out of 10. He's going to be hopefully good for us, at least serviceable. And that's probably going to be the last move I make until we figure out what our financial situation is looking like with arbitration and signing the Korean right fielder. All right, here we're going to start with our third deal of the offseason. We're trading Ronald Guzman to the San Francisco Giants for Hunter Bishop and $1 million cash. Now, Ronald Guzman, I'm pretty sure he was injured all of last year. I just noticed him on the injury list, and I was just about to release him, but then I realized I might as well see if he has any trade value as a 2-star overall at 27 years old. He's also a lefty bat. I'll see what I can get for him. There's actually a lot of, guys looking to dish contracts out. Like, I know Manny Machado was on there, which is surprising. There was Justin Upton, Anthony Rendon, all sort of unrealistic options, in my opinion. But I just decided to go with this one because I really don't want to be investing so much money into all of these guys so soon when we're really not to the point where it matters. I like the 2 guys we got so far that we have a little bit of money invested, but it's not even $20 million total, which is way more than what we'd have to pay for any of these other guys. So I decided to stick with getting a prospect, Hunter Bishop. He looks like he could be decent maybe one day. Maybe he's not. I don't really care, honestly. This deal is not an investment at all. We're getting $1 million in cash. We're getting a prospect for a guy we would release anyway. So we're just going to go ahead and complete that trade. Next, we have all of our salary arbitration hearings, and we actually have really good news on this front. Every single one of them we won. So Matt Bush is going to get $750,000. Isaiah is going to get $2.5 million. Justin Anderson is going to get $750,000. Clay Holmes and Tim Meza are going to get $1 million each, and then Luis Garcia gets $800,000. And then here we have the top free agents for this year. We have Kyle Schwarber, Max Scherzer, Carlos Correa, Chris Taylor, Brandon Crawford, Robbie Ray, Marcus Semien, Carlos Rodon, Trevor Bauer, and Colin McHugh. None of these guys really interest me that much. I would say the only person that would even come close is Carlos Correa, probably, just because he's 27, really good bat, and he could easily be another star for us. I don't see it happening, though. I don't know if we have that much money to commit to someone that soon in this rebuild, but who knows? We'll see. That's going to be it for now. I believe the next thing is just going to be different trades, maybe free agent signings. Maybe we finally hear back from our potential starting right fielder. Who knows? But I'll see you guys next time something happens. Okay, so I've been thinking about a lot of moves that we can make, and I've already made some offers on some guys. We'll go ahead and look at the offers I've already made, and then I'll explain why I've made them. So far, these are the offers. We have Austin Hedges, who I plan to be our starting catcher because of the defense. Just look at that 80 catcher ability, 75 arm. He's not going to bat at all, but he's going to play really good defense, and that's really what matters to me at the catching position as of right now. I don't think there's any catchers available in free agency that are good enough for me to commit money to. There's no one available in their trade, I think, that is worth getting right now. I'd rather just have a really good defensive catcher that's going to help our pitching staff at the moment that we really need to build up. Next, we have Andrew Benintendi. He's going to hopefully play left field for us this year if he accepts this contract. If he doesn't, then we might have to go Cespedes again. There wasn't too many great options. He was the best one I thought fit well, and he's a lefty bat, which is always good to have. I think he could be pretty good for us. I mean, last year he was about average. If he's about average for us too, then it's worth it. It's only a $3 million deal with a team option for that second year. I forgot to mention Austin Hedges is also getting $1.5 million for a 1-year deal. We also have this right fielder that we've been in contact with. Hopefully he accepts that. And then we have an international free agent. He's a second baseman. I don't understand how he has a 4.5-star potential. I just don't love anything about this, but just because of the potential, I'd be more than happy to put him into the minor league system if he accepts it. He's going to be good defensively, he's going to have a good eye, but everything else is going to be average to below average. So I don't know how that's going to work, but if he signs, that'd be a good prospect in the minor league system for us. Let's go on to the last subject I want to talk about before we skip ahead a little bit further. Is I've actually thought about it some more, and I said we probably won't offer Carlos Correa any contract because it's too expensive to commit to someone like that too early. But his contract really isn't even that expensive. I was expecting $30 million a year. He's asking for 15 in the first year, 26 in the last. It's going up over time, but that's really not that much. An average salary of $23 million for a 27-year-old shortstop who is elite. If we're being honest, he's an elite batter. And then we just move our shortstop over to second, and then we're set there, especially at the shortstop position where it's so hard to find a really good bat. I think he could be really good. I don't think I would do 8 years. I think I'd prefer like a $6 million a year. Maybe we could bump this up to, maybe we can do a minimum of 20 a year right here, and then bump this up to 24, and then bump these down to 25 maybe. With that being a player option, maybe we make this year a player option as well, just to make him more happy there. We can also bump up the incentives. We can do 500 minimum plate appearance, and we can do $2 million if he hits that. I'm more than happy if he's performing and playing the amount of games we want him to play. Then that's fine with me. We can even bump up if he wins MVP. If he wins MVP, I'm more than happy to pay him this much. All-Star game, we'll bump it up to $500,000. A lot of incentive here. It's still a very big contract. He has $92 million guaranteed with a potential value of $146 million. That's a lot of money. Obviously, he wanted more. The salary is about the same. The average annual salary is about the same. Maybe we should bump up this one to 25. That helps the salary to be roughly the same as what he wanted. The overall isn't the same. Unfortunately, I'm just not willing to commit 8 years to a shortstop. I prefer 6. That gets him to age 33. That works for me. We'll promise him the starting role, and we'll include a no trade clause. We'll ask if he doesn't say yes, or if he doesn't say he'll think about this, then I'm gonna have to come back and see a different deal, because this is a good deal if you ask me. Okay, so he'll think about it. We'll submit him the offer. 6 years, $140 million. It's a lot of money to commit right after we just won only 60 games, but I think this team could be really good. In worst case scenario, we can build around them for the future. We have some decent bats. We have some decent pitching. We're only going to get better. I want to try and be around 500, roughly in this third place spot. I'd love to be where the Angels are at, 85 and 77. That'd be really good. Even where the Mariners are at 82 and 80, I'd love to be there. I just don't want to be this bad. There's no point in being this bad. We're already going to have a top pick in this next year's draft. We have a few prospects that I already like. And we have plenty of money right now. I think even if he signs that contract, we still have so much money to go around for extensions, for anything like that, anything we would want to spend the money on. And I've already also gone ahead and bumped up the scouting budget and the development budget. $25 million for development budget and $15 for the scouting budget. So we already have our money allocated to where we want it. So this is all just extra money that we have. We might as well just spend it. There's no point in keeping it. Alright, here we are on January 1st, the start of the new year. We have a ton of messages here to catch up on. First, let's start with other teams' moves. The Astros go out and sign Carlos Rodon to an $18 million a year deal for 2 years. Then we have the Cubs signing Brandon Crawford to a $76 million deal over 4 years. Next, we have Robbie Ray signing with the Giants to a $112 million deal. That is huge money for him. Then we have an interesting trade here. Kyle Gibson for JD Martinez. It's very interesting. I'm not sure if I would have made that deal, but I guess JD Martinez is old, but then again, so is Kyle Gibson. We'll see who wins that deal in the long run. Next, we have the Giants signing Baez to a $16 million a year deal, which isn't a lot of money, but he also didn't have a great year last year, so it's understandable. Next, we move on to Marcus Stroman, who signs with the Dodgers of all teams. They get even better, especially in the pitching department. $78 million over 5 years. That's a decent deal for them. The Astros go out and get Kevin Gausman on a huge deal, $177 million over 7 years. Huge contract. That is absolutely crazy. You couldn't imagine that 5 years ago, him getting this much money. Next, we have Toronto and New York making a trade. Edwin Diaz gets moved to Toronto. They pick up a big bullpen arm, maybe a closer. We'll see where they place him. I thought that was an interesting deal. And then we have the Boston Red Sox making another deal. They trade for Ken Giles and they give up Bobby Dahlback. I thought this was an interesting deal. Boston's making a lot of moves for pitching and they're giving up some bats, which is interesting. Then we move on to Trevor Bauer signing with the Seattle Mariners, almost $18 million a year for 7 years for a total of $125 million. And then we move on up here. We have Kyle Schwarber signing back with the Cubs, $181 million over 8 years. That's, I'm pretty sure, the biggest deal we've seen so far. Huge money. That's a lot of years too, but I guess they wanted him back. Can't blame him for that. Next, we have the Phillies going after Marcus Semien, $20 million a year over 4 years. It's not a bad deal. He'll be 35. That's not a horrible age, so you can't say it's a bad deal, I guess. Then we have Kendall Graveman going to the Cubs for $69 million in total over 5 years. And then we have Starling Marte signing with the Giants. The Giants are picking up a lot of pieces here. Starling Marte signs, though, for $68 million over 4 years. Then we have Chris Taylor signing with Houston for $17 million a year for 6 years. He's going to be 37 at the end of that contract. That's an interesting deal. Now we move on to our moves. Carlos Correa signs with us. Big contract for a big player. I'll show you the contract now. It's $20 million for the first 2 years each year, and then the last 4 years are $25 million a year, with the last 2 being player options. It's a really big commitment at this point in our rebuild, but I think it's worth it for such a good player. He is only 27. He's only going to be 33 when the contract expires, so we don't have to worry too much about decline. He has some incentives down here. If he hits over 500 plate appearances, he gets $2 million. If he wins MVP, he gets $1.5 million. If he's an All-Star, he gets $500,000. He does have a no-trade clause. This was a good deal in my opinion. 140 over 6 years is not too bad for an all-star shortstop, especially when that position is just so hard to find a really good player at. We did, however, have to give up our third-round pick for the upcoming draft as a compensation, which I'm fine with. It's a little unfortunate since we are going to have a top pick, but the third round never really produces anybody that great in this game, at least. There's sometimes some good guys, but for the most part, it's not a huge deal for me. Next, we move on to the other guys that we were targeting, starting with Austin Hedges, signs a 1-year deal for $1.5 million. He's going to be a good catcher for us. He's going to start probably day one. I'm happy with that. Then we have our starting left fielder, Andrew Benintendi. It's a good deal, $3 million a year, with that second year being a team option. And he's going to hit pretty good for us, I think. If he doesn't, it's not a bad contract at all. We have the team option. It's only $3 million a year. It's definitely a really team-friendly deal there. And then we have probably my favorite signing of this offseason, Jung-Ho Lee. he's going to be really good if he can produce what his rating seems like he will produce. He has a great bat, good defense, good base running. I think he's going to put up really good numbers for us. The contract's a little big considering he isn't proven yet, but it's not fully guaranteed. First 3 years, 12 mil each year for a total of 36 over 3 years, and then he has 2 years after that as team options with 14 a year. I think it's a good deal if he doesn't work out. It's not a super long commitment, and if it does work out, then this is a really good deal. We have him locked up for 5 years with those team options. I think it's a really good deal, and he's a lefty bat, which helps with our lineup a lot. I really like this deal. I have no complaints about any of the larger contracts we gave out. I really like this. It's early in our rebuild, but I think it's worth it. Next, we'll move on to some of the trades we made, starting with this one here, Luis Garcia. We traded him away because we had too many middle relief arms, and we needed to get rid of some guys, and I was fine with getting rid of Luis Garcia here. For, I believe it was a bunch of prospects, we get Adonis Medina here, a starting pitching prospect. He's 25, but he looks like he could be pretty decent maybe. Maybe he could make a few starts here and there in the majors if we need him because of injury and whatnot. He throws hard. He has some potential still. He's really just average around the board. I just wanted him strictly for depth reasons. Then we go ahead and we get a catching prospect here. He's almost 24 already. I just liked his defensive ability. He could have a decent bat too. There wasn't anything great. We weren't looking for a superstar prospect or anything. We were just looking for guys to really fill in because I was looking to get rid of him anyway, and these were the best guys that we could get. Then we have a 23-year-old left field prospect who has really good gap power, really good stealing ability, a decent glove in the outfield. I think he has some potential. Our head scout is saying he's better than what OSA is thinking. He's probably never going to make it to the majors. He played for Philadelphia, it looks like, but he's probably never going to make it to the majors for us. But maybe he does. Maybe he works out in the minors. We'll see. It was really just trying to get more prospects in return for Luis Garcia. It wasn't a huge trade for us. Next, we'll move on to our next trade right here. We trade away Koei Arihara. I don't know how to pronounce that, but he was our starting pitcher last year. He was good, or he was fine. He wasn't good. But we just had too many starting pitchers, and I didn't want to keep him on. I couldn't send him down. So we just traded him away. And we also include in this trade JT. Don't know how to say his last name, but he was just a little older. He was another one of those middle relief guys that I was looking to get rid of. He didn't have anything special about him, in my opinion. He just wasn't jumping off the page compared to the rest of the guys. And then we also give up a starting pitching prospect who I wasn't really interested in and I was fine with getting rid of. And we get Zach Thompson here. He really, really interests me. He could make it to the majors, in my opinion. He throws hard. He's a power pitcher. He's neutral. He has good stamina even, so he could even make it as a starter. But I was more interested in like a long relief role for him since we already have our starters. He's only 24. He still has potential. He's just good overall. He has good pitches. They're above average. I like it. I think he could be decent for us. In AA, he pitched decent in 5 starts. He had a 3.07 ERA, 26 strikeouts in 29 innings. He's not going to be anything. He's not going to be a superstar by any means, but we just needed to get rid of these guys. Koei was his contract is the main reason, $3.5 million. There's just no reason paying that for a guy that we don't need. And then we move on to the most recent trade I made. This one it's not a big trade. It's mostly just prospects, but I got a guy that I really like in MJ Melendez here. He's a catching prospect. He's 23, just turned 23 a month ago. He has really good defensive ability. He has potential still. He can hit pretty good. His contact and avoiding Ks are not good. Everything else is average to above average. If he can just get a little bit more potential and maybe bump that contact up, I think he could be a starter for us one day. I really liked him, especially that defensive ability and a catcher. That's what I really look for. So I was really happy with this trade. We also get a few other prospects. We get Guzman here. He has good speed, good defensive ability as a shortstop. He has decent gap power. Contact's below average. Avoiding Ks is about average, but he has potential to get up there and maybe even be a major league shortstop one day. I can definitely see that. OSA is saying he has more potential than our scouts saying, which I like to see for sure. I really liked the pickup here. And then we also get Austin Cox, who's a starting pitching prospect. He was just sort of a throw-in. I didn't really see anybody else I wanted, so I threw him in. He's 24. He has some potential still. He could be something. Maybe if it's just in the minors, that's fine. We didn't give up anything here. We give up Brady Aiken, who is nothing to me. He's 25. Nothing special. And then the same with Moss here. 1.5 potential. Nothing jumps off the page. He is 20, but I just didn't see anything special here. And in order to get these guys, we had to give up those guys, and I was more than fine with that. We easily won that trade, in my opinion. So I'm really happy with that. Next, we'll just jump straight into looking at the lineups and going over basically the recap of what our team's going to look like. And that's probably going to be it for this video once I go over this. So let's get straight into it. This is what our lineup's going to look like as of right now. We're going to have Tavares playing center field, leading off. I really like him. He's going to be hopefully good for us this year. Last year was a little disappointing. I definitely think he has the ability to be a really good leadoff hitter for us. Carlos Correa is going to bat second, playing shortstop, obviously. I like him batting second, especially the righty-lefty mix here in this lineup is really, really, really exciting for me. I really like it. Batting third, Nate Lowe playing first base. I think he could be a solid batter for us in that third spot. I really like him, especially ahead of these other guys and behind these guys even. It's just going to fit really, really well. Stanton's going to bat fourth. He's going to play DH. He's not going to be in a non-DH lineup. If we don't have a DH of the game, he's going to rest, and I'm fine with that. I don't want to risk injury in the field. I just want him to hit. That's all we're paying him for. That's all we brought him in for, is to hit, and I'm fine with that. Plus, Benintendi has a good defensive ability, so I'm more than fine with him playing left instead. But Benintendi is going to bat fifth, playing left field. Jorge Mateo gets moved to second instead of playing shortstop. I think he's going to be really good too for us. He has a good bat contact-wise. He can get on base a decent bit. He's never going to hit home runs. And he can also steal bases, which is the main reason he's in over Anderson Tejada or even Isaiah playing second base and we find a new third base, is because I like this dude at second, and I'm more than fine with that. Then we have Jung Ho Lee batting seventh, playing right. It's a little far down in the order, but it's just how it worked out. He might be switched with Benintendi depending on how the season's going. I definitely could see that happening. He has a really good bat. It just worked out like this so far. Then we have Austin Hedges batting 8th and Isaiah batting 9th. Our bench is still up in the air. I don't know if any of these guys are going to be on the bench. I like DJ Peters. I think he's probably going to be one of our bench guys. Jason Martin might not be on the Major League roster to start the year. Anderson Tejada, he will be on the Major League roster. Jonah Heim, he's a switch-hitting catcher, which is keeping him on the roster. He has an average bat and above-average defensive ability. And he's only 26, so he's probably going to be on the Major League roster unless I can find a lefty bat that can platoon with Austin Hedges really good. But I don't see that happening. I'd rather Austin just be the everyday starting catcher for now unless something comes along. And then Andy Ibanez is going to be here for now. He might get traded. He might be the next guy to get traded before next video, but for now he's on the roster. Then we'll move over to pitching. Our starting rotation, I like it a lot. We have Francis Martez. He's going to be our opening day starter. I think he's going to be really good for us this year. Then we move on to Blake Snell. He's going to be the second guy for us. He's probably our ace, honestly, when it comes to talent, but I just like Francis Martez, what he means to the team as an opening day starter more. Then we have John King, who had a solid year last year, 3.49 ERA. It wasn't a huge sample size, but it was big enough to show that he is capable of being a good starting pitcher for us. So he's going to slot into that 3 spot. Then we have Dane Dunning, who didn't have a great year, but I think he could bounce back easily. And then we move on to Spencer Howard, who I didn't really give a chance too much last year. I think he has a lot to prove this year, and I think he could be really good for us. And if he doesn't, it's fine. We can just find a new starting pitcher. We can call someone up. That's fine with me. Then we move on to our bullpen here, starting with the closer, Joe Barlow. He's going to be our closer again. Justin Anderson's going to be our setup guy again. I liked them last year. They performed last year, even though it wasn't a huge sample size. Whenever I took over, they performed, so they earned the spot here until something proves that they can't be the closer and the setup guy. And then we have a lot of good pieces here in middle relief. They're obviously not going to all be here. Probably one or at the most two of these guys are going to be sent down or traded or waived. One of those options. But for now, these are our guys on the 28-man roster. We have DeMarcus Evans. Most likely, he would be the one that gets sent down because he is the youngest. And he just has more raw talent right now than polished talent, I guess. I don't know how to word that, but he definitely has a lot of potential here. He throws hard. He has good pitches. He has good stuff. And he still has some room to grow. Then we have Spencer Patton. He's a little older. He was the closer when I took over and then moved him to the middle relief. He had a good year last year. Nothing to complain about there. He's still going to be on this roster as of right now. Matt Bush, he was injured a lot. He throws hard. I think he throws the hardest on this team, but he is 35. Regression might happen this year, but for now he's on the roster, and I think he could be good for us. He could be a really good piece. And then we have Jonathan Hernandez, who I'm pretty sure as well was injured last year. He could be really good too. He throws hard. He has decent pitches, good stuff. There's a lot to like about him. Tim Mason, I think, is probably the most underrated part of this bullpen. He doesn't throw hard. He doesn't have overwhelming ratings here, but I think he could be really good for us. He's going to be an underrated part of this bullpen if everything goes according to plan. Then we have another guy that was injured all of last year that I think is very much hit or miss. He throws hard. He has 4 pitches, and he has really good stuff, good movement, decent control. I think he could be one of those guys that's really, really good for us. But he's also making a lot of money. He has a big contract. Big contract in terms of how much we're paying everyone else, at least. It's just he has to earn this spot more than anybody else because of the contract. If he doesn't perform good, then he's going to be gone just because of the contract. So his leash is just a little bit shorter than everyone else. But I think he can definitely be really, really good. Just face value alone, he just looks really, really good. Then we have Clay Holmes in that long relief role. He could be really good as well for us. He wasn't great when he came to us last year, but hopefully he can just come into the role a little bit better. Hopefully once I start playing more games, actually managing the games, his role will be more clear and better. And I think he could be really good in that long relief role for us. If not, we'll move him to the middle relief and maybe find a long relief guy instead. We'll see, but for now, that's what our pitching rotation is looking like. We have a lot of prospects still down here in the minors. We did go ahead and sign that second baseman that I was talking about earlier that had a lot of potential. His potential is not as much as I thought it was, but he still could be pretty decent. The bat looks okay. Defense looks fine, especially as a second baseman. He doesn't need the arm here. Base running isn't bad. He can definitely get better as a 21-year-old second baseman. I'm excited to see how he grows. We have our first base prospect here who could be decent. His bat's here, another year to grow would be nice. Then we have Jack Leiter. Hopefully he can get up to the majors as soon as possible. We'd really, really, really like it if he was up at the majors in 2 years maybe. He's going to be good, hopefully. We need him to be good at this point. And there's no other prospects I think that I really am too interested in as of right now that I think are going to be a concern for us within the next 2 to 3 years. Maybe some show themselves along the way and they get better, but for now those are the main guys I'm focused on. That's going to do it for this video. We're going to end it here. There's probably not going to be too many moves made from now until spring training starts. I'll probably start next video either at spring training or opening day. Make sure to leave a like if you like this video, and then also comment whether or not we made good moves, bad moves. Did we spend too much this offseason, even though we're only a 60-win team that's rebuilding still, or was it the right moves? Did we make smart moves that help us for the years to come when we're trying to make the playoffs? And that's going to do it. Thank you guys for watching.